If you grew up in the 1950s, you'll remember all these things. The 1950s are long gone, but the golden memories of that era still live vividly in our minds. Only those who grew up in the 1950s can truly feel the intense vitality of each memory, from the distant sound of an ice cream truck bell on a summer afternoon, to carefree days playing outside. In this video, you will be surprised as those seemingly distant memories resurface clearly, as if they were just yesterday. Formal attire for every day. Can you imagine in the 1950s, whether you were a toddler or a grown adult, no one left the house without being neatly and politely dressed? It was an unwritten rule of society. Men often appeared with ties and hats when going out in town, showing solemnity and politeness in all circumstances. Women were always graceful in their dresses. There was absolutely no instance of someone rushing to the grocery store in their pajamas or sloppy slippers, as we often see today. Even children were prepared with full and neat outfits by their parents for specific purposes. School clothes, solemn church clothes, or comfortable yet tidy clothes for playtime. In particular, boys' shirts were always neatly tucked in. This doesn't mean people didn't wear casual clothes, but simply that when stepping out the door, families always tried to look their best, showing pride and respect. Families gathered around the big radio. Imagine a peaceful evening in the 1950s. Before the small black and white TV screen became widespread, families often turned to the big radio, prominently placed in the living room, for entertainment and to share memorable moments. Children would gather in the evenings, eagerly listening to the latest episodes of hugely popular radio shows like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, The Lone Ranger, and The Adventures of Superman, among many others. These classic radio shows not only brought laughter and thrilling adventures, but also were some of the first programs to be adapted into television versions later on. They sowed the seeds for a new entertainment industry, shaping how families entertained themselves for decades to come. The sound of the radio was familiar, a bond connecting family members where imaginations soared with the stories told. The first black and white TV on the block. The TV was a magical window opening up the world, bringing new stories and images right into every family's living room. If you were one of the lucky ones to have a TV in the 1950s, you might have been the first on your block to own one. Back then, TVs had small screens and only displayed black and white images. However, for children at the time, they were the greatest, most magical thing they had ever seen. Interestingly, TV channels back then also had a sign-off at the end of each night, with some even playing the Star-Spangled Banner before going off the air. It was a regular ritual, a part of daily life that children today would find hard to imagine. Learning politeness and respect for adults from a young age. Parents in the 1950s often married right after high school around 18 years old. Although quite young, they were very strict in raising their children. Politeness and manners were taught from a very young age, and respect for elders was the most important thing. Good attitudes and basic etiquette were instilled from early childhood. For example, saying "yes, ma'am" or "no, sir" when answering adults. When speaking or being spoken to, children were taught to look into the eyes of the person they were addressing. And another common rule was to ask permission before leaving the dinner table. This was long before cell phones and so-called social media distracted us from simple, direct interaction with those around us. Politeness and respect were the moral and cultural norms of communication in society at that time. Family church rush hour. As the U.S. population boomed with the post-war baby boom generation, the number of people flocking to churches also surged significantly. The 1950s witnessed a record number of church attendees as families across the country prioritized religion in their lives. Church was not only a place to practice faith, but also an important community center, where people met, connected, and reinforced traditional values, becoming an indispensable part of family and social life. For some children in the 1950s, going to church became a familiar routine every Sunday morning, Wednesday evening, and occasional church potlucks. Do you remember those Sunday mornings when the whole family went to church? How has that feeling changed in your memory now? Rock and roll music. Parents in the 1950s were very wary, even anxious about the kind of music their children listened to. The energetic hip shaking of Elvis Presley and Chuck Berry, along with the explosion of rock and roll music, was considered too much and caused a moral panic across the suburbs. The big band era officially ended, giving way to newer and more vibrant melodies. Radio stations began playing what some conservatives called devil's music. However, that couldn't stop teenagers. They couldn't seem to get enough rock and roll. Although parents tried everything to prevent their children from listening to, watching, or even dancing to rock and roll, what they thought was just a fleeting fad evolved into powerful lyrics and provocative performances, filling today's music world. Rock and roll became a symbol of rebellion and an indelible mark of an era. Family board game night. When indoors, children were often busy with many activities, but not by staring at phones or tablets like today. Instead, they would eagerly pull out familiar board games like Monopoly, Mousetrap, or The Game of Life. Playing board games was not just a personal pastime, but also a bonding family activity. Many families even dedicated one night a week to play games together. Can you believe it? Back then, you could buy a Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley board game for less than $2. More than just entertainment, these game nights also encouraged meaningful conversations and brought a lot of laughter. Free and creative outdoor play. When outside, children of the 1950s devised incredibly creative and free ways to pass the time. At that time, there were very few organized sports, so kids had to figure out how to run outdoor games themselves. They decided what to play, where, and when. Then, they would pick team captains, and these captains would then divide into teams. This was completely different from today, where children are surrounded by organized sports and often tightly managed by adults. But in the 1950s, everything was less about being the best player and more about having fun and developing friendships. And absolutely, winning a trophy just for participating was unheard of. Unlike many organizations today, childhood years ago were intense, full of freedom and creativity, where relationships were formed through spontaneous games. The Howdy Doody Show. If you had a new TV in the 1950s, one show almost every kid watched was the Howdy Doody Show. This NBC-produced program was a true pioneer in children's programming. It used a unique combination of puppet characters and human characters like Buffalo Bob and Clarabelle the Clown. The show also had a special section called the Peanut Gallery, filled with children sitting in the studio, watching live as the theme music played with the famous line, "It's Howdy Doody time." At that moment, all the children would rush into the living room to watch. The Howdy Doody Show was so popular that Howdy Doody became a familiar face on merchandise and a spokesperson in commercials for the show's sponsors. This was a small screen idol, a source of joy and a memorable part of a generation's childhood. Wonderful World of Disney. On Wednesday evenings, The Wonderful World of Disney was what everyone looked forward to. This anthology series was actually called Walt Disney's Disneyland in the 1950s, before it became The Wonderful World of Disney in the 1960s. At this time, households had very few choices for TV programs, but the special weekly show hosted by Walt Disney himself gathered families around the TV to watch beloved characters like Davy Crockett and Johnny Tremaine together. Many of these original TV movies aired in segments over several weeks, giving children something to share and bond over at school. The coonskin cap craze became popular after these Disney TV movies aired weekly. Among the TV shows or toys from the 50s we just mentioned, which one brings back the most memories for you? Please share your feelings in the comments below. Family road trips on the new interstate system. Before people started flying for vacations, families hit the road to explore the country. Family road trips became possible thanks to the interstate highway system, which began to take shape in the 1950s, making travel from state to state much easier. Along with the development of the road system, gas stations, restaurants, and motels began to spring up along popular routes. Chains like Holiday Inn, Howard Johnson's, and Stauffer's became familiar and popular roadside stops as people traveled to resorts, for example, down to Florida. Packing the family car was always a memorable experience, and the anticipation always grew after spending a few days on the road. So many wonderful memories were created on these family trips that many people today wish they could experience again. Milk delivered to your door. Can you believe it? Back then, you even had milk delivered to your door. The milkman might have had a horse and cart, and you would hear the clip-clop of hooves and the clinking of milk bottles on your neighbor's doorsteps as he went down the street. Sometimes you might even get chocolate milk as a special treat. Although sources mention milk in glass bottles being part of daily life in the 1970s, home milk delivery services became widely popular from the 1950s, offering convenience and a familiar cultural aspect of life at the time. Milk delivery gradually became convenient, familiar, bringing fresh flavor right to the door every morning. Fluffernutter sandwich, favorite snack. A staple at lunch back then, a snack many loved, was the Fluffernutter sandwich. It was a simple yet appealing treat. This sandwich was made with 2 slices of soft bread, spread with a rich layer of peanut butter, and a sweet, smooth layer of marshmallow fluff. Sometimes, to add more flavor and appeal, the sandwich also included a fresh slice of banana. The Fluffernutter sandwich is the taste of childhood, a distinctive dish that brings satisfaction and sweet memories of simple yet delicious lunches. Watching The Ed Sullivan Show on Sunday nights. Every Sunday night, it was an indispensable ritual for many families. You would turn on your parents' brand new black and white TV, snuggle up on the sofa with the whole family, and enjoy an hour of captivating entertainment by watching The Ed Sullivan Show. This was one of the most popular television shows at the time, alongside I Love Lucy, The Howdy Doody Show, and Gunsmoke. The Ed Sullivan Show featured a diverse range of acts, from music and comedy to circus and artistic performances, attracting millions of viewers across the country. Thanks to weekend TV shows, families spent time together, gathering, sharing laughter, and memorable moments during the golden age of television. Drive-in movie theater experience. The best way to watch movies back then, a unique and unforgettable entertainment experience, was at drive-in movie theaters. This was the perfect family outing, offering comfort and privacy that traditional cinemas couldn't provide. Your family would drive in, park in a good spot, grab a small speaker hanging by the car window, or tune into the car radio for the movie's audio, and enjoy the film together all summer long. Another summer favorite was hearing the bell of the Good Humor ice cream truck echoing down the street. Drive-in movie theaters were popular as they created an atmosphere like a romantic evening, a sweet memory of warm summer nights where the whole family enjoyed art and togetherness. If you could bring back one thing from the 1950s to today's world, what would it be and why? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Good Humor, ice cream truck and its chimes. Another summer favorite was the familiar sound of the ice cream truck bell echoing down the street, very likely the Good Humor ice cream truck. This sound was like a magical signal announcing joy and refreshment. Children in the neighborhood would listen intently for the songs and distinctive sounds of the ice cream vendor so they could rush home, ask their mothers for money, and run out to the street to buy refreshing popsicles. The Good Humor ice cream truck and its chimes were not just a symbol of a treat, but also the familiar sound of childhood, bringing simple joy, excitement, and sweet memories of endless summer days. 1950s, candy for just a penny. Do you remember the popular candies of the 1950s? Charleston Chews, Bazooka Gum, Necco Wafers, Bonamo Honey, Atomic Fireballs, Root Beer Barrels, and Candy Buttons were names that shaped the childhoods of countless generations, and the special thing was that most of them cost only a penny. How special is it to pretend to smoke fake candy cigarettes or buy colorful fake coconut cigarettes? These small candies were not just a snack, but also part of play, imagination, and childhood joy. They were small gifts, bringing sweet flavors and unforgettable memories of the simplicity and happiness of a bygone era. Saddle shoes and poodle skirts. In the fashion style of the 1950s, almost everyone owned classic black and white saddle shoes. You would always keep them so shiny you could see your reflection in them. Saddle shoes were the perfect accessory for poodle skirts, but also went well with jeans, creating a style that was both elegant and dynamic. A poodle skirt was a colorful, wide, flared skirt, usually knee-length or slightly below. It was often made of felt and typically featured an elaborately decorated poodle design, hence the name poodle skirts. Saddle shoes and poodle skirts were iconic styles, fashion hallmarks of an era reflecting the youthfulness, dynamism, and vibrancy of 1950s youth. Soda fountains and jukeboxes. A notable spot to hang out with friends or go on a Friday night date was your local soda fountain. This was an ideal place to chat, relax, and enjoy fun moments together. These establishments were typically bar-style restaurants serving refreshing carbonated drinks and ice cream, creating delicious sundaes or milkshakes. And of course, there was usually a jukebox in the corner of the room, where you could drop in a coin to pick your favorite songs and dance with friends to the music. The soda fountain and jukebox are familiar corners to many young people, and quickly become a symbol of music and youth exchange where friendships are nurtured and memories are created. Sock hops, dances without shoes. Typical high school dances in the 1950s often saw a rather unique sight. Teenagers taking off their shoes and dancing in socks to protect the gymnasium floor. From this, these dances earned the nickname sock hops. At sock hops, young people created and performed many popular dances, including the hand jive, the stroll, the box step, and most famously the twist. These skillful dances brought joy and freedom of self-expression to a generation. Sock hops were places where youthful energy erupted, where music and dance intertwined to create unforgettable memories. Rotary dial phones and party lines. At that time, the popular type of phone was the rotary dial phone. Most families only had a single phone, and sometimes this phone was even on a party line with your neighbors. You and your neighbors would have different numbers, but if you picked up the receiver and they were talking, you just had to wait your turn to make a call. If you wanted to contact a business or an acquaintance, the best way was to flip through a thick stack of phone directory pages to find the number. Using mimeograph machines and the distinctive ink smell. When in school in the 1950s, paper copies, assignments, or announcements were made using mimeograph machines. This was a common document duplication technology before photocopiers became widespread. This machine not only produced a unique purple ink, but also had a distinctive, unforgettable scent that most people loved. The smell of mimeograph ink was associated with a whole generation, tied to lessons, notebooks, and memories of school days, an indispensable part of the educational experience of that era. Christmas trees covered in sparkling tinsel. Decorating Christmas trees with tinsel was a fun and sparkling tradition in the 1950s. Thin, shimmering strands of tinsel were carefully hung on each branch, creating a dazzling, magical beauty. There was something truly special about a tree covered in tinsel, along with old toy trains running around the base and simple wooden sleds. These images can truly transport you back to the festive atmosphere of yesteryear. Around Christmas, children would gather to help their parents decorate to bring a warm, festive atmosphere and excitement throughout the house. Radio flyer wagons and metal roller skates. A popular way for children to get around the neighborhood could include the famous red radio flyer wagon. Owning one of these red wagons made it much easier to transport items around the neighborhood, collect bottles, deliver newspapers, or even pull friends. Another essential four-wheeled item was a pair of metal roller skates with a key that could be adjusted to fit your shoe size. You could almost tell who had a pair of these skates by looking for kids with scraped knees on Sundays, a sign of energetic adventures. The radio flyer wagon and roller skates were tools for endless fun and adventure for anyone who experienced an active, curiosity-filled childhood. Downtown stores closed on Sundays. On Sundays in small towns and cities across the country, a familiar sight was that all downtown stores along Main Street were closed. It wasn't due to a lack of customers, but rather a part of the community's rhythm of life. This closing allowed everyone to attend church services and have a full day of rest. So, if you ran out of milk or needed anything urgently on a Sunday, knocking on a neighbor's door to borrow instead of driving to the store was very common. This reflected a slower pace of life, prioritizing family and religion, and reinforcing close-knit community ties where people were ready to help each other. the Fuller Brushman, and Encyclopedia Britannica door-to-door salesman. Before the era of online shopping and large supermarkets, shopping often took place in a very personal, intimate way, through the Fuller Brushman. These salesmen would talk to housewives, introduce their products, and even help them clean by demonstrating the effectiveness of their brushes on the spot. Another item sold door-to-door was the Encyclopedia Britannica set. These essential knowledge sets were very expensive, and many households purchased them by making small monthly installments. The Fuller Brushman and Encyclopedia Britannica salesmen were not only old professions but also part of convenient in-home services, reflecting the unique shopping and knowledge acquisition methods of the 1950s. Western TV shows for kids. Westerns on TV were what every boy watched in the 1950s. Shows like The Lone Ranger, The Roy Rogers Show, and Gunsmoke made every kid wear toy holsters and guns when they played outside. Playing cowboys and Indians, cops, and robbers was a popular way to act out your impression of your favorite TV cowboy. If they weren't obsessed with cowboys, they were probably wearing coonskin caps and watching Davy Crockett. These Western TV shows created childhood heroes, inspiring imaginative play and thrilling adventures for boys. The boom of the Mickey Mouse Club. Disney's legendary television series, The Mickey Mouse Club, captivated millions of American children since its debut on ABC in 1955. It was once a national cultural phenomenon. This hour-long variety show aired on weekday afternoons and featured a talented cast of child performers known as Mouseketeers, including Annette Funicello, Bobby Burgess, and O'Brien. The Mickey Mouse Club was not just an entertainment program, but also an important part of childhood memories, where many young stars began their careers and a symbol of the legendary Mickey Mouse Club, bringing joy and togetherness to countless generations. Polio vaccine and the end of fear. The development of the polio vaccine was a significant milestone, a great medical breakthrough leading to mass vaccination for millions of American children in 1955. This was a historic event that brought great hope. With polio disabling nearly 35,000 children each year, the vaccine ended the fear of gathering in public places, especially during the summer months. In the 1950s, doctors still commonly made house calls in small towns to care for the sick, showing close attention to public health. The polio vaccine was considered a major turning point in medical history, helping children play freely without the constant fear of this dreaded disease. Transistor radios bringing music everywhere. Transistor radios were something every kid in the 1950s wanted, and many owned them. These small, portable radios created a revolution. They allowed you to take music anywhere. With the increasing popularity of rock and roll music, these devices could be found everywhere in the 1950s, from teenagers' bedrooms to barbershops, from the beach to picnics. Transistor radios were not just a toy or a new piece of technology, but also a symbol of freedom and music enjoyment, bringing vibrant melodies and hot news to every corner of life. Learning to tie shoelaces. Tying shoes was considered a rite of passage for children. Before Velcro became a familiar part of life, lacing shoes and meticulously tying them into a neat bow was a standard skill every child had to master before entering elementary school. Besides laces, shoe buckles were also a very common way to keep shoes securely on feet. This meant that from a very young age, children were taught how to take care of their own shoes. I imagine a child sitting on the steps of their house, small hands fumbling with soft but sometimes unruly shoelaces. There were moments of frustration, moments when tiny fingers wanted to give up, but with patient guidance from parents or older siblings, and with a lot of tireless practice, the skill gradually formed. Spacious bench seats in cars. Cars in the 1950s were truly spacious, with bench-style seats extending across the full width of the car, offering plenty of room to move around and be comfortable. This was especially true considering that at the time, cars were not equipped with seat belts as we know them today. You could easily slide back and forth on the seat, or even lie down if the trip was too long. The car culture formed and flourished in the 1950s became a symbol in every aspect of American life. From drive-in burger joints where you could order and eat right in your car without getting out, to drive-in movie theaters offering a unique entertainment experience under the starry sky, the automobile became central to many social and recreational activities. The feeling of ultimate freedom was found behind the wheel of a car, opening up a world of limitless possibilities. No longer constrained by public transport schedules or walking distances, the car allowed you to explore the world around you. Gas for only 13 cents a gallon. It's hard to believe a time when gas prices were only about 13 cents per gallon. That's one of the most memorable things about the 1950s. Imagine pulling into your local gas station and you didn't have to pump your own gas. A friendly attendant would automatically come out to greet you and fill up your tank. It was a full-service experience, a personal touch that is hard to find today. Cheap gas not only made travel much easier and more economical, but also strongly fueled the car culture we've discussed. It opened up new roads, encouraged families to take long road trips, and made car adventures possible and more common than ever before. Zip the monkey stuffed toy. One of the favorite toys of many children in the 1950s was a toy named Zip the monkey. Zip was a stuffed animal made of soft plush fabric with characteristic rubber face, ears, and hands. The image of Zip the monkey always features a bright yellow shirt with Zip clearly printed on the front, along with red plush overalls with straps, a cute small red hat, and pristine white rubber shoes. The detailed outfits of this monkey made it unique and easily recognizable. This monkey became everyone's favorite stuffed toy, especially after the popular children's show Howdy Doody Show introduced the real-life chimpanzee Zippy to the world. The connection to a famous TV character made Zip the monkey an indispensable toy in many children's bedrooms. Dirty play clothes. Kids spent all their time just playing outside, from dawn until the stars appeared. Getting stains on clothes was unavoidable. These were the play clothes that your mom didn't mind if they got soiled, muddy, or even torn in a few places. They were perfect for a bike ride exploring every corner of the neighborhood, for a dusty, cheering street baseball game, or any mischief climbing or fort building kids could think of. Dirty clothes, scraped knees, and bright, dusty smiles. That was the characteristic, most authentic image of the innocent and energetic childhood of the 1950s, an era when children truly got to be children, freely exploring the world around them without constraints. 3D comic books. On rainy days when playing outside wasn't an option, the 1950s were the perfect time to immerse oneself in the world of comic books. And among them, 3D comic books became a craze, a trend every child sought out. Imagine your favorite superhero or cartoon characters no longer just lay flat on the page. They seemed to leap off the page vividly when you wore the special glasses that came with each comic. This trend, though very popular, only lasted for a short time. This was because the novelty of the initial 3D technology gradually wore off, and readers began to question the lack of deep storylines, as many 3D comics seemed to focus more on effects than content. However, during the brief period they were popular, 3D comic books provided a unique and exciting experience for children, a new way to interact with their favorite stories and characters. What else from the 1950s did we miss? Let us know in the comments below. If you love this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends who also grew up in the 50s. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next journey back in time.